Well, how's it going, everybody? So, I'm going to make this little video here because I don't believe in coincidences, or coincidences, or however you're supposed to say it. So, it's Sunday, it's about 10 after 6, we've got a big thunderstorm rolling in, and I just finished eating, and I thought, see if Steve had posted his latest video, and he did, so I'm watching it. And he's doing his video. In fact, he hadn't finished yet. You can see there, it's still on the TV there. And so he's talking with this guy. Man and woman rode up in a mountain bike there where he was trying to record. And to be honest with you, the guy's a little bit rude, because if someone told me, hey, I'm recording a video, yada yada, I'd just say my pleasantries and leave them on be. But that's just me. This guy engages him in a conversation. Of course, Steve asked him about the Sasquatch, and this guy says he's heard sightings, but he's a scientific guy, and he leaves his mind open, but he wants proof. And he sounds very similar to someone I had a discussion with on Friday. And just so you don't think I'm making this up, try to ride Steve's coattails and blah blah blah, I actually tried to start the video yesterday outside and kept getting interrupted, so I just quit. But I'll play that for you because I start the introduction so you'll know. Yesterday I actually started to do this, but from Scott's backyard. So I had something interesting happen to me Friday yesterday, and it's a prime example of you can't convince people of something when they're closed-minded, and it goes along the lines of you're never going to prove someone who doesn't want. I find it very interesting that the last couple of videos have kind of been in sync, as far as I did a video first about the Sasquatch coming into the cities and stuff like that, and then someone writes in with a encounter where they've had one in the city and asked the question, hey, are they moving in on us? And then this week you flip it. Well, if I'd have posted my video, I would have beat him. But anyway, long story short is I have an encounter with a skeptic. I was going to do a video about it, and he runs into one as well. Now, my part of it was I didn't want to debate, I didn't want to talk about it, but this person who's highly educated, advanced degreed person, I was in a social situation, and the other people I was talking to about it, and he overheard it. Now, me and him had talked about it before, and I just don't want to talk to him about it. He's never going to, there's nothing can prove it to him. And it's a waste of time. I didn't want to waste my time, didn't want to waste his time, but he pressed the issue. And it was just kind of funny because it's always the same things. Well, what about all the trail cameras? And he said, well, show me your best picture. Show me your best picture. So I pulled up the picture of the white Sasquatch. And he had one of those not nice looking he took the phone and showing these other people and making this dumb look like, you really believe this is a Sasquatch? Like, yeah, this is not what they look like. Well, he don't know what they look like. He admitted he didn't believe them. So it was just, the frustration wasn't that he wasn't going to be convinced. I knew that. The frustration was I just wanted out of this conversation. I didn't want to waste my time. There's nothing I could say or do that would convince this person. And that's the whole point about don't waste your time with these people. Don't waste your time online with them. Don't waste your time in person with them. Don't waste your time, in correspondence. It's time to move them to the side and move on. I'm tired of trying to convince people. I wrote a book, the DNA, everything, all my experiences, the 15,000 experiences that Steve has, you know, written to him. There's a couple other sites on YouTube that read encounters constantly. We're talking hundreds of thousands. I'd say out of 360 million Americans, I'd say 3 or 4 million or more have had encounters, if not more. And now, you know, if you start looking at the sightings, just like the UFO stuff, it's going through the roof. So I just thought it interesting the last couple of weeks, uncoordinated, unscripted. I mean, Steve does what Steve does, and I do what I do, and we don't coordinate, and we don't talk about it, you know. He don't even watch my stuff. He gets too darn busy to even, you know, watch anything. You know, of course, I watch his videos, and one of the reasons I watch them is because I know when he puts a video out that I'm going to get questions and concerns about that video. So, you know, basically I'm kind of, you know, of course I enjoy him, but want to watch him, but also it's a deal where I want to make, you know, kind of keep it up with what he's reading about, because guarantee you it's not a great volume, but there'll be a volume of email that comes in that is related to his, you know, his recent subjects. You know, people, and I don't mind it at all, and you know, if people want to continue to do it, it's great. But I'll get, you know, I wrote Steve this, or I sent Steve this email. What do you think? Steve read my letter on this video. What do you think? That sort of thing. So anyway, the moral of the story is don't waste your time on these people. Like I said, don't engage in debates online with them. Don't get in person with them. If you're, you know, I once had a friend who, you know, is conspiracy theory buff, which I am, of course. And of course now the UFO and the deep state conspiracy hats, tinfoil hats, have been wadded up and thrown away, because now they're obviously, it's been proven they're both true, and the Navy's even, you know, come forward, etc., etc. But he said, you know, if you're going to engage someone in a conversation, or they engage you, you know, first thing you ask them is about the, you know, do they think that there was a conspiracy, the JFK assassination was a conspiracy? And if they come back and say no, then talk about sports, because that's, you know, this person's not going to get it. And I, you know, it's the same thing about the Sasquatch. You know, if you're, you know, if you engage in a conversation with someone and that subject comes up, and they're like, you know, they drop these, well, I'm open-minded, but, you know, I need to see proof, then move on. Don't waste your time. Just move on. So I just thought that was interesting. I'm going to watch the rest of this video, but this guy he's talking to is killing me. And I'm interested to see how Steve handles. That's why I stopped it before I saw how he handled it. Because, you know, the guy's trying to be nice, and he's trying to say, yeah, you know, I'm a scientific-minded. And I'm thinking, what does that mean? Because the scientific mind, you know, would weigh the evidence. You know, basically what he's saying is scientifically minded means if it's not laying on the slab in front of me, you know, where I can, you know, touch it and hold it and roll all over it, then I'm not going to believe it. And so, you know, that's what scientifically minded means. You know, in other words, you know, unless I see it with my own two eyes, or at least one roll, you know, I can kick the dead body. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'll never forget, I was watching this wildlife biologist being interviewed. It's been several years ago on a show, and he literally looked at the camera and said, just because of his profession and how he believed, but based on his belief system, he said, if I had to step over a dead Sasquatch, I still would not believe. And so you can't, though, people like that, you know, it's more about a dogma and about a belief system, you know, So, you know, when someone's like gets in that frame of mind, there is no, you know, reasonable discussion you could have about this subject with them, and just move on. So I thought it was just timely. I just think it's interesting how, for whatever reason, the audiences in the videos, the last couple postings have kind of synced up with the subject matter, even though there's no coordination, there's no, you know, communications or nothing. And so just thought that was interesting. I'm going to get back to the video. Okay, so wow. I mean, wow. I just watched the rest of the video. And so not only is the quote, is there some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not coincidence, because it's more than that. There's this is, divine providence, whatever you want to call it. So I encounter on Friday someone who's similar to the guy that Steve randomly encounters on his video. My guy's a little bit more confrontational, yes, and it's a little different situation, but he is a scientific-minded guy. He's a well-educated man, and he just can't, he wants proof, and he scoffs at my pictures. He scoffs at the, remember, he cornered me. I didn't bring this up. He cornered me. It's starting to rain. He cornered me, and I've got an aluminum roof on my deck. I love it. It would probably put me to sleep in the middle of this video. I'm going to gnaw it off. But anyway, so he confronted me, and because he heard me talking to someone else about the subject, and he came into the conversation and then kind of proceeded to confront me and say, hey, I'll believe if you can show me a picture and all this crap. And I'm like, I don't want to prove it to you, no offense, but I don't need to prove it to you. I don't really care what you think, but he pressed himself on, he kept pressing the issue. And so I engaged him for a little bit, and there really wasn't any, nothing I could show him. He scoffed at the pictures. Like I said, he scoffed at when I told him about the study, but he tried to throw out the camera deal, and I tried to throw back that they can locate him, number one, and number two, there's millions of square acres in the United States of America, and they said cameras have a small throw and are unreliable, and people just for some reason think trail cameras are the end all be all, when anybody that's dealt with them for more than 5 minutes knows they're unreliable and they fail. I don't care if you spend $1,000 on one, it will fail and it will not trigger. And that's when you're actually trying to locate deer or other wild game. So you can imagine with a Sasquatch, it knows it's there. Of course, I didn't even bring up I had one leaking the camera because I didn't even want to go there with him. But anyway, so we have this situation there, and then he continues on with the lady named Gail's email, which I'm pretty sure me and her have corresponded, which that's another, and that's something. And so and so what a amazing set of circumstances that she goes into telling her encounter in Nashville, and it was only 4 miles out of Nashville. She actually referenced me, and what I'd said about that they're not way out in the wilderness. They they live in and amongst us and close in. And of course that was the point of the last video I did, and he so it seems just wow, it's like things are lining up, and it's interesting. Like I said, I don't coordinate with Steve. I don't talk to Steve. If he sends me if we and him communicate, he'll say something in one of his videos that I know is meant for me. That's about it. And some people and he hadn't even done that in a while. And but but that's it. He's too busy to he don't, as far as I know, he doesn't even watch my stuff because he's really busy. He's doing all this stuff, moving and all this, and I get it, But I'm watching his videos, number one because I enjoy them, and number two because if he addresses a subject, more than likely I'm going to get emails. That's not mean I'm some great person or whatever, yada yada. It's just I'm not stupid. I am aware and cognizant that people look for me for help and answers, and so lots of times if he addresses a subject or a subject comes up on his video, I'll get the following days I'll get emails, and this way I kind of know what's coming, and keep the emails coming. And I'm saying stop the emails. I'm just telling you the behind the scenes story. That's what's going on. But I just thought it very just crazy amazing that you know, two people with similar concerns and working, working together, even though we're not coordinating, we're got the same goals and working towards the same, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, same goals, the same objectives. There it is. Sometimes I have brain farts in my old head, but it's just amazing that things would line up, and then in the same video, he'd have a situation similar to I had on Friday, and then again, people are relaying experiences that don't happen close in. I said that backwards. People are relaying experiences that do happen close in cities or very close to cities, and talking about, what's going on here, why are they so close in? And for those familiar with my, my videos and my research, I had them coming to the house. They've slapped. I went out today actually and looked. I've still got some of the marks in the siding from where they slapped and climbed up on the side of the house. So, they come into cities and they come into populated areas. They're smart. They're not stupid. These are very intelligent, smart people, and they're using us to their advantage. Which, if I were in their shoes, I would too. Because again, they can come in, their guts, let's just face it, they're raised wild. So their infants are raised eating raw meat and things of that nature. So their guts, their immune systems are already acclimated to eating raw meat and those things where, we're not. So they can survive on raw stuff or even stuff that's spoiling. And so they, it's no big deal for them to eat out of dumpsters. And, I heard a report the other day where someone was talking about how it was muscular and giant and it had a pot belly. And around here, I've had similar reports of some of them having pot bellies. In other words, while they look like a bodybuilder, they're eating really good and they don't have to expend a lot of calories because they're eating out of the dumpsters and stealing stuff and surviving that way. And and anybody would. You'd be smart to. And why risk injury and that sort of thing and all that calorie expenditure chasing down a wild hog in the Smoky Mountains when for a Sasquatch 30-40 miles away there's a dumpster full of food that's thrown out from a restaurant, and you can have your pickings, and pretty much at night nobody, it doesn't really matter, no one's going to give you any trouble. I mean, there's a local grocery store that they throw out their out-of-date stuff almost every night. They have to go through and throw out their out-of-date stuff. So in their dumpster is milk, bread, things that actually are still edible for humans. So you can imagine. I've often wondered about putting a trail camera near that because there's a creek that runs right up behind it. There's no doubt in my mind that they hit that dumpster. No doubt. But, it's already going to prove what we already know. So, with the rain in the background, I just wanted to, this got me shaking my head. This is crazy. What are the odds that we both have the same circumstances on a Friday dealing with someone and both dealing with the subjects of the Sasquatch being in or near the cities and populated areas. So I thought that's just mind-blowing for me. And like I said, I'm not trying to get on anybody's coattails or anything. It's just, to me it's just amazing that, God is coordinating these things and things are happening where we're addressing these issues in a coherent manner, in a coordinated manner, even though we're not coordinated, if that makes any sense. We're not trying to coordinate, but our message is getting coordinated. And, one's backing up the other and vice versa. So I just think it's pretty cool and it's pretty amazing. As far as the three and toad, yeah, I'm aware of the three-toed, you know, a species or a subspecies of these things, you know, just like we have blonde hair, blue eyes, and you know, there are some people born with a tail, and there are some people, you know, born with you know, certain, you know, one toe, you know, the middle toe really long and the other toe shorter, or web. Some people have webbed toes, some people have webbed hands. Well, Sasquatch, you know, genetic diversity, so you've got some three-toed, and I've heard many accounts of the three-toed ones, and there's five-toed ones, and there's six toes. So there's, you know, as far as I'm aware, there's six, five, and three-toed ones. And you know, again, there's genetic diversity, and you can, like I said, I've heard reports. A lot of the reports of the three-toed ones are down in Florida and Oklahoma, but you know, you know, literally that subspecies is everywhere. And there are six-toed ones. There's six toes out west. There's been some found in Tennessee that have six toes. So you know, that links to the Nephilim and the fact that the giants were known to have 6 fingers and 6 toes. So you know, there's definitely genetic diversity, but of course now it quits raining when I'm just about done. But I thought that was interesting. I thought, you know, we both encountered the same thing. You know, the guy that Steve was talking to was a lot nicer, actually a lot more open. Though, you know, he still wanted proof, and you know, he kind of hammered on the scientific part. You know, he even mentioned something about he always goes looks at the pictures, which tells me he doesn't think the pictures are legit, or to him that's not enough. And that, you know, and that's to be expected from someone who's scientific minded. Scientific minded means you want proof. You want a body. You want to have to step over a dead body, or you want to see one with your own 2 eyes, up close and personal. And you know, real quick, I think I've said this online. A prominent surgeon in this area reached out to me a few years ago. I don't know how he got my number. I think he just looked me up on the internet, and someone gave me my email, and I think by then I think I was probably, I was online by then, so I'm pretty sure he emailed me. Someone had put him on to me and said he really needed to talk to me, and gave me his phone number, and he left his signature, and I recognized the name of the doctor. That's how well known he is in this area. And so I called him. Now, this is a doctor, and his specialty deals with, I don't want to give out too much information. He's an orthopedic surgeon, so it's not too much information. There's dozens of them in the area. And this person had gone exercise hiking in the Smokies, and he's, you know, he relayed his encounter to me, that he was exercise hiking. He was really moving. You know, it was almost, he said it wasn't running, but it was close. And on one of the trails he was hiking, he came up over, basically the terrain was a little rise, and then you went down, and at the bottom, from the top of the rise to the bottom, is about 30-40 feet, he said, and there's a small brook, like a babbling creek, or a brook. It's very, you know, it's running all the time, but it's, you know, it's small. And so when he topped the hill and looked down, there was a Sasquatch, 8 to 9 foot tall black Sasquatch, and he said it was knelt down and it was cupping water with his hand and drinking out of his hand. And so when he topped the hill, he said it actually continued to drink, but it took a drink and it slowly turned and looked at him for a second. And then he said it was squatted down, not on its knees. It was kind of like in the squatted position, you know, on his butt, with his butt down, his knees up. And he said it just, in one motion, stood up and twisted and turned and looked right at him, with just staring at him. And he's staring at it. And he says, you know, he said, no doubt what this thing is. He said, I could literally see there were flies buzzing around it. He said, I could literally see the fly. He said, there was a fly or two, and maybe a mosquito or something like that, he said, but they were buzzing around his body. And he said this thing turned and went off into the woods, didn't run, just walked quickly. And he said as it turned, he said, I could recognize all the muscle groups. And I could recognize, the shoulder blades and the arms. And, he said the chest had thin enough hair that you could see the skin through the chest. And he said it had like a cape, like the hair on the shoulders is thicker like a cape. But he said it had the flat nose, the long, wide mouth, and, big black eyes, just a little bit of skull hair on the edges, he said. But he said, and this thing, there was no doubt in his mind what he saw was a living, it wasn't a hoax. And then the problem was he had to deal with it. And he was having issues. He, was thinking about going to see a psychiatrist, or he'd already seen one, or was thinking about it, I can't remember. But he couldn't talk to anybody. Here's one of these well-educated, scientific-minded people, sees one of these things, and it totally messes him up because he can't tell his colleagues. He can't tell his family. No one will believe him. His colleagues will, it could, in his position, it could jeopardize his job. But he had to know. He had to talk to someone, and he had to know. And that's what he asked. That's exactly what he said to me. He said, I have to know. Are they real? What I saw, was it real? And I thought to myself, you saw it, it's real, but it didn't matter. Even though he saw it with his own eyes, he knew it was a sentient living being. He could see muscle groups. He could see it, all of it. He knew it was real. He still doubted himself, or he still wanted confirmation. He still wanted that, another human being, another person to acknowledge, yeah, you're not crazy. You saw what you saw. They're real. And that's what I did. I assured him I'd seen them. I assured him they were real, that I had seen them, that even though people sometimes scoff at the photos or whatever, that, we have photographs of them. I told him about the DNA study, and it seemed to relieve him, and it allowed him to kind of like, in that chapter and kind of close that off, so he could move on with his life. They're real. I know they're real. Other people have seen them. I'm not the only one, and he could let it go and move on. And that's what this is all about. But that's what happens when a scientifically minded, highly educated person that has to have proof, or he didn't have to have proof, he didn't want to worry about it, but when someone of that educational background and that scientific mindset, when they see this, it's not supposed to exist, it's not supposed to be real, it's not, I've gone through all this college and pre-med and med and rotation and everything, to become a doctor. And I encounter this, and everything in my experiences and in my education said, this is fairy tale. These things are just a joke. They don't exist. And then boom. He's confronted with reality. He's confronted with the real world. And their brains short circuit, and they just can't function. And, they have to have validation, even at that level of confidence and accomplishment. He still has to have validation from another human being that, yep, what you saw was real. Yep, you're not crazy. Yep, they exist. So, and that's why this one person that confronted me, I don't wish upon this person ever to see one, because I think if they did, this would be their reaction, and I think they'd have a lot of trouble with it. So, with that being said, and that's kind of the brunt of, what I'm trying to do is to help people that have encounters, to help people that have ongoing encounters. The Sasquatch Awareness Project, please go there and see that, look that up. It's got practical, real life information about what they are, how to handle, help for an encounter, and how to deal with things, what they are, pictures of them, all kinds of good information. And if you have any questions, if you need to reach out to me, please do. I know I've been a little slow in responding to emails lately. I'm going through some personal things that will be over soon, probably in the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then finalized by completely over by June, July-ish. But some things are going on, and so some days I have difficulty and there's things going on. I can't get, well, I can sit here and make a video like this really quick because it's easy to click. I'm going to be honest with you, going through emails, reading them, thinking about them, praying about them, and then coming back to the response takes a lot of time and, a lot of my emotional and energy and, a lot of brain power for me. I'm a simpleton. So, and so I'm saying all this to say that this time kind of emotionally has been draining to me. So it's hard for me to get into the reading emails and giving people sound advice. When I respond, I want to respond with sound advice. I want to respond with the right advice, the best of my ability, and I want to be able to be, read and comprehend. And I'm just going to be honest with you. My mind right at this moment in my life is a little bit distracted, and there's other things weighing on it, so it's difficult for me to do that. Now, I'm working through it, and I'm trying to get to them, and when I'm having a good day and I can muster up, then I'll sit down and read one and respond. But please, understand that. But if you need to reach out, feel free, and we'll just just together as a community, together as friends, together as people with a common experience, we'll move forward, and we'll just keep at it. And God bless everybody, and hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I didn't ramble too much, and I hope you thought it was neat too, how God's working these things out, and these things are coordinated between two individuals, literally thousands of miles away, and how it is like, working hand in hand, and the coordination, without coordination between me and anybody else. So you guys hope you had a good Mother's Day, and have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.